This pattern concept came to me when I was in a really dark place. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Britt, also known as nerdygirlcrochets. I love anime, Spider-Man, Toothless, really all things nerdy. I run a small crochet business where I primarily paint safety eyes for other crocheters. I primarily do the drop style where I bulk make them and then list them all at once, and then once they're gone, they're gone. On my channel, I talk about mental health and feelings because despite what society teaches us, it is healthy to talk about these things. You know, unfortunately, I am learning the hard way that burying our pain and trauma does no good for us. So here on my channel, I find it very important to talk about anxiety, depression, and just like mental health in general. It's really important. We need to break the stigma. We need to add some normalcy to talking about these things. And we really just need to bring awareness to mental health in general. And I just want everybody to know that this is a safe space. So today I'm going to be talking about what inspired this pattern. Oh, my little baby, when I hold him up, he's just kind of like a little bloop. And to the side, you can kind of, the arms are blocking it, but you can kind of see, look, it has a little belly. It's kind of funny. Initially, when I first drafted up the pattern, it ended up looking like a bunny unintentionally. I still have the first draft, but so when they're sitting, it looks kind of like this. But here's the first draft. I accidentally looked like a bunny. And I just rolled with it because I didn't want it to be a total waste. But, you know, I was like, I like a lot of the elements of it. So I just rolled with it, made it look like a bunny. So I'm like, eventually I'll just give this probably to my mom. But I liked a lot of the elements, but I was like, I can tweak it from there to make it more of what my vision was, because it did. It came to me at night. I was just listening to I Prevail, which is my absolute favorite band of all time. And this was kind of the vision that came to mind. Initially, I had thought, I want to give it ears. Kind of like the ears were, you know, the long ears, kind of like Eeyore, because Eeyore's gloomy. The whole thing with this is I was like, I kind of want to make like an emotional sport, like emo buddy. Because I listen to a lot of, you know, like metalcore punk music. And I Prevail has always been a band for me that's extremely healing. They talk a lot about mental health, and a lot of their lyrics I just have felt they just speak to me a lot. Yeah, I've always loved their music a lot. And so when I was listening to I Prevail one night, I randomly just had this vision of a creature, which I'd never thought that I could ever create a pattern based on something that didn't exist. I truly would tell myself, I'm so jealous of these pattern creators who could just come up with a creature that doesn't exist. I'd always believed that I could only create patterns off of things that already existed, like characters, which I do love characters. I love modding things to make my favorite characters, but this is the first time I've ever designed something that just kind of came to me from my brain. And as I was making this come to life, I just, you know, I'm like, wow, I can't believe I did that. That is so cool. I kind of did the first draft and then I got busy and didn't have time to work on it. And it wasn't until, honestly, I was in a funk, once again, in a dark place. And then I felt inspired. Like, I want to pick that up again. I think it'll actually help me feel better. And it did. It did help me feel better. I wanted to talk about the inspiration for these little emo babies because when I started to work on it, it made me feel good, especially in a few days where it just felt like the walls were caving in. And I just looked at this little sweet baby And I was proud of myself. I still look and I'm like, wow, I created that from my brain. And it's not a character that already exists in the world. Really? It makes me feel pretty good. And I don't know if anybody else feels like music has touched them that much, but it's a big deal for me. It has helped me so much. You know, for me, that's kind of like my safe space and where I kind of go to disappear and like escape from the world. Just really calm down. Yeah, it's a big deal for me. So that's why when this came to me and it was kind of like because I was listening to music that made me feel, I don't know, I just related to it so much. And this one is the Amity Affliction one, which if you're an Amity Affliction fan, this is going to be based on the song Not Without My Ghost. That's one that when I listen to that song, especially during the really, really dark times, chills. That song chills, like, because of how much I resonate with it. So there's just some music out there, and for me, if I'm going through something and I hear a song that I resonate with, it's moving, because I don't think anything's more painful than feeling like you're alone, but you're not alone. And I think that's why I love music so much. So yeah, he's not done yet. He's still a work in progress, and there have been changes along the way. Originally, I wanted like the Eeyore type of ears because, you know, Eeyore's kind of sad and gloomy, and this is meant to be an emo little support buddy. But as I was working on it again, you know, first draft, like, I accidentally made a bunny. Not that it's not cute. So I drafted up the ears for this one. And I was like, okay, no, they would go on like that. I don't know, something like that. Once again, I was like, it detracts too much. And when I had it just like this, as I was working on it, I kept kind of oogling over it and being like, oh, I just love it. And I was hanging out with my mom as I was working on the final little bits of it. And I just was cuddling it, you know, so spending time with my mom, and it was just one of those rough days, and watching Spider-Man because that's my comfort movie. And I was actually just cuddling this little baby. You know, it kind of also just shows that your vision can also change along the way, and that's kind of the cool thing about pattern design. But yeah, not done yet because I do envision my little emo babies with a beanie. You know, little punk rockers, you know, they need their little beanies on to complete the look. And I am going to encourage people to get creative with the pattern a little bit. I'm proud of this one, and it holds a deep meaning for me. I just think it's cute, but also my little emo support buddy. I love it. So this will be Amity Affliction. I definitely plan to make I Prevail because, of course, I Prevail is what inspired the pattern. I want to make one for Dayseeker, Caskets. I don't know. There's too many good bands out there. But when it comes to mental health, healing is not linear. And if you are an I Prevail fan like me, what's crazy is I had designed this pattern, and then 2 days later, I Prevail announced that Brian Burkheiser, which is, I guess I should say, he was the lead singer, like lead clean vocalist of I Prevail, was no longer a part of the band. That hit me pretty hard. Like, if you're really big into like a band, you kind of tend to grow an attachment, especially to certain band members, and he kind of was it for me. He was a big part of that band for me, and that was a huge loss. I did meet them back in 2019 when they came. I did the meet and greet, and I met him. And that was huge for me. He's the main one who is really open with his fans and inspires them to get help during those hard times. And without him, I'm sorry, I just don't And everybody can have a different opinion, that's fine. But from my perspective, when they announced he wasn't part of the band, I just was like, I just don't think it's going to be I Prevail for me anymore. It's not going to be the same. Like, because for me, it was like, it's more than just the music. It's like he brings a deep meaning to the music. So without him, like, what is it, you know? I felt like he just brought so much meaning, and now without him, it just, I don't think it's going to be the same anymore, but I can still appreciate all the amazing music that he brought for 10 years. I think it's a huge loss. I think it's sad, and like the more I'm seeing, the more it seems like it was not an amicable separation of him from the band. I think it's very sad. I don't know. The I Prevail I love will always be the I Prevail that had Brian in it. I'm not saying the new I Prevail is bad, but the I Prevail that heavily impacted my life and really saved me was with Brian in it. It's just, yeah. I could go on, but it's like, that's the band that I love. It's music I love. That's the music that made me feel like I was not alone. You know, even Brian said, like, he struggled to open up about his mental health. It's not something that's easy to talk about. But once he did, like, he really encouraged people to seek help and not to suffer in silence. And that's inspiring to me. I just find him very inspiring. Like, despite his struggles, he keeps moving on. He keeps taking each day by day. It's really not easy to open up about your struggles, but like, you're not alone. And that's why I opened up about mine. Nobody goes through life unscathed. That's the thing, is I feel like music can often describe how I feel way better than I can. And the music from I Prevail, like, their lyrics are just so spot on in so much of their music for me. I know I've said it before, but it's like their music really has just made me feel like I'm not alone. Do any of you guys have a band that has really like touched you like that, or changed your life like that? Let me know in the comments. And like I said, this is a work in progress, so if you're interested to see as it comes together more, stay tuned. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!